Kidnapped, walking the scene, reviewing old flicks from the 90s. So keen, the VHS Club, they're the talk of the town. Breaking it down, spreading nostalgia all around. Moving and grooving to the synth-pop sound. Their insight so fresh, painting pictures profound. From Pulp Fiction to Clueless, they know it all. The genuine love for movies stands strong. Unfolding memories on that VHS screen, talking about classics like you've never seen. Katie with her charm, Matt with that wit. Together they make the VHS Club legit.
Welcome back to the VHS Club. We were hanging out behind the music, laughing at all of your incredible comments. Val, have you got your food? Are you ready? we got to hold up for the episode until Val's got all of her food and lets us know whether or not she's seen this one. The greatest cast ever. Hank is ready. Hank is ready to dive deep into this one. Well, we're excited, A, because it's Star Trek, B, because it's an even number Star Trek, and C, or 3, because Mick's on. And we just got to hang out with Mick on the Scene Snobs 2 days ago. It feels like yesterday, but I think it was 2 days ago officially. Tuesday. Well,
so much fun.
It was just so much fun. And Nat's on location, so you can't blame Nat for anything that happens because she's still on location having fun. Well, Mick,
I'm in a cabin in the woods.
Nat's in a cabin in the woods, but not in a horror movie vibe, like in a good vibe.
We'll see.
We'll tell you if something comes up behind you. Exactly.
I love it.
Well, before we jump into this too much, if no one yet knows what the Scene Snobs is, you're missing out. You did not see any of our posts and you did not watch our episodes. So quick, Mick, tell people what the Scene Snobs is, where they can find you, how they can watch everything. It's also in my friend Matt calls it the below, which is also known as the show notes or description. So you can find it there. But Mick, tell us what the show's about.
I love that. That threw me off. All I'm thinking about is I just want to say thank you guys so much for having me on. This is so much fun. I do love your show, and I'm talking about one of my favorites tonight. But all of you, if you want to check out the Scene Snobs, we love movies, so hang out with us. I try to make it a vibe of like hanging out with your friends at the video store talking about your favorite movies.
Totally.
It's just, I want to go with that, and I love classic movies and all genres and everything. So like I try to put a twist of history to a lot of movies that may be lost in the fold. Mm-hmm. So I have fun with it. I'm a Turner Classic Movie kid, so. So I'm all in on
welcome back to the past. We're all here together tonight. I absolutely love it. Well, I'm super excited to dive into this one. We usually make Nat give the description of the movie, but since this is one of your faves, give us the IMDb level synopsis of what this movie is about.
Well, I can't. I mean, I'm just going to go off of Mick's IMDb.
All right, perfect.
Level. I have to, because I love this movie so much. So this is the original crew of the Enterprise back for a second movie to do better. If you haven't seen that first one.
To do better.
Even numbered movies.
They dive deep into Wrath of Khan. What do? They go back to Space Seed. That's right. You got to go back to the OG series for this one. Bring back Khan Noonien Singh, that for that matter, and he is back in a revengeful way. We don't know how he knows Chekhov, but he does know Chekhov in this movie.
Which he
And
doesn't,
you're
which he
gonna-
doesn't really, but that's okay. We'll talk about that in a minute.
I was so underly prepared for this, but I do love this movie, and I'm all in on this explanation. I don't want to give away too much, but I do love this. Again, I do love this movie, and it's back. The original crew is back with some more additions along the way. We're going to see familiar faces, and we're going to see some new faces and learn some backstory we never knew before. But it is the Wrath of Khan versus Kirk. Who will win? Who will be champion? Of course, you guys know there's like 10 more movies after this. So I think we know who will be. But you want to watch it because you're going to love it. So sit down with your popcorn and enjoy.
Perfect.
hope I
Okay,
did
wait.
it justice.
Perfect. Wait. We need. I've been talking all week about applause. So
I was so because Matt, you do a great job. Opening and explaining the movies and such, and I was like, I've got nothing, just charisma, maybe.
It's all about charisma. Don't worry.
I have to dig into Shatner. Well, it's about.
I love Shatner. When the movie first opens and you see Shatner and he's backlit on the screen, and I'm like, I love Shatner, Canadian hero. I'm like, and this is like older Shatner, right? Like, still,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, he's still Kirk.
Yeah. He's supposed to be 51 in this movie, so he's like middle-aged Kirk, which apparently he did not enjoy that he had to play middle-aged Kirk, which again cracks me up because, as Nat said, so I went to school at McGill, and most of my classes were in the Shatner building. So it always warms my heart to see him on screen. But we should talk about the opening because I was reviewing all of the facts, and as Mick just said, there's this like wonderful kind of introduction at the beginning where Chekhov and Khan appears, and Chekhov's like, oh no, and it appears as though they know each other from the past. But Nat just rewatched the episode that Khan originally appears in, and Nat, was Chekhov in that episode?
No.
No.
So the origin story of this whole movie is season 1, episode 22, Space Seed, if you want to go back and rewatch it. And I went back to rewatch it, Abe, just because I was super in the mood to watch a little more Star Trek after watching Khan, but then also because it filled in all of the questions I had from watching the movie, not having seen it since maybe the 90s. So
Yeah,
but
so
no, Chekhov is not there.
he's not in it, and
It's like in the movie,
no, he's not in it. And I read this
Chekhov.
wonderful quote that I dropped into the description below, so you can all check out some of these facts. But he basically he got a copy of the script, and his job was to like Star Trek fact check it, like for the writer who knew nothing about Star Trek. And so he was supposed to like go through and just make sure everything was accurate. And he just didn't bother telling the writer that Chekhov's character didn't exist at that time. Like, he didn't join the show until after that episode because, and I quote, he didn't want Sulu to take that part. Like, he was worried that then they would just like swap him for a different character that was in that episode. And he really wanted the things to be put into his ears, and he wanted to scream. He was like, I'm a better screamer than everyone else. So he just omitted the truth. He just like literally straight up was like, yep, accurate. Here you go. Which I think is absolutely fantastic. Like the boldness of Chekhov, of real life Chekhov.
If I may, the egregious part about it is it's not even that he wasn't in that episode. He didn't join the and they make a deal of it. They say it about his character until season 2.
Yeah, he's not even on the. He didn't exist. Yeah.
So like he was not there at all, and then he got into the helm. So good on you, Chekhov. You made a career of it.
Good for him.
I'm dying of laughter because both we have a couple people hanging out in the chat who are like, like have been to Star Trek Next Generation sets. So we'll geek out in the background while we're talking about how fantastically cool
Oh
that
my
is.
God.
We're jealous.
I just realized I feel so bad because my son is probably watching and he's probably gonna kick my butt. I talked about the scene snobs. I didn't even mention that we have a Star Trek podcast. And if I can, my son and I have a
What?
Star Trek rewatch
Tell us.
podcast.
Oh, I thought you were.
Oh.
So I was covering my ears because I thought you were going to say that like you were rewatching these episodes, but it was the first time for him, and I was like, oh no, spoilers! Don't watch this episode. But yes, plug
we've
your
watched the
podcast.
movies
Okay.
before, but we're on them right now, actually. So we're going to be rewatching them all again. And what we do is every month we do a new season.
Oh, okay.
So
I need to
we'll
tune
watch
in.
a
What's it
whole
called?
season. Warp Factor Fiction.
Warp Factor Fiction.
Love
Perfect.
it.
All right, we'll grab
buddy
that link
Rick.
to add that in. That's amazing.
Sorry, I had to do it for him.
No.
I do it for fun, and it
Perfect.
was just a lot of fun. Thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
I'm
Well,
like,
Nat, favorite
So-
scene in this. So you're starting at the beginning in your feels over Shatner. Do you have a favorite scene in this one?
Shatner just being, he has all the swagger. He's just Shatner.
every Shatner scene.
Of course,
Yeah,
he's going
that's
to
fair.
take the pretty. Of course, there's the pretty Vulcan who I guess doesn't lie and says, "Oh, there's a regulation that says I need to go with you on this mission," and he's like, "Of course you can come." And he's like, "But you made that up," which is funny because then later in the movie she calls Spock out for lying, and he's like, "I didn't lie, I just exaggerated." So it's I think my favorite scene is obviously the iconic, when he screams Khan, and
Yeah.
it's incredible.
It is an incredible scene.
Yeah,
Mick, is that your favorite
it's
one,
the
or do you
one
have
that
another
sticks,
one?
like everybody knows it.
Yeah, everyone knows it.
I'm hard pressed because my favorite scene has a big backstory for me, and I said, "Do you want me to bombard that?"
Backstory, yeah, backstory it up. Let's hear it.
Spoilers, yeah.
So
Yeah. Spoilers
I was
for
never a
everyone.
big Star Trek guy as a kid. I did watch Next Generation growing up because
Yep.
that was syndication. It was big, but I didn't go forward with it really at all. Watched the movies. I did like the movies, the newer movies with the newer cast, the Next Gen cast.
Yeah.
Well, when I got into, my best friend from high school, we were growing up stuff. He started telling me about how Wrath of Khan was connected to an old episode of the thing, and I love that. I love that whole
Yeah.
in world bringing things back. So I was like, I got to check this out. So I watched it, and he showed it to me, and just had such a great time with it. Well, fast forward, we would always say that to each other, always shall be. I cannot say it. Here's what. He passed away in 2021. So I got this. Right? This is my favorite scene.
Aww, you're gonna make us
Oh,
cry
yeah.
on this episode.
And the reason is
Okay, I
because
legit bawled my eyes out watching it.
Yeah. This
Every
movie
time.
is
and
a feel.
and spoilers, we know Spock comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me
Aw.
started. Oh, I can't. I don't,
What does
yeah,
it
so
say? Yeah, read it to us.
one of those best friend things.
Yeah.
And it says, I have always been and always shall be your friend.
Aww.
So he had a half and I had half. When he died, his half was sitting in the coffin.
Aww.
So that's the scene.
So that's the
be- I
moment.
suppose
That's the
best
moment.
way to say that's my favorite scene.
I mean, that's the most
What?
powerful story, but definitely the most powerful moment in this whole movie.
Oh gosh.
Oh man, now if I have to come up with a different scene,
almost in the franchise.
it's better,
I'm
yeah.
not even crying because
It's
of my
like
friend. I'm
even
crying
in
'cause
the
of Spock.
newer
Yeah.
Yeah. It's even in the newer movies, they recreate this scene and it's just as gut-wrenching seeing different actors do the same scene, and every time this scene comes up, it's gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
It-
Yeah,
it-
absolutely.
yeah.
And as
It re-
Jerry points out, which is another kind of one of those fun facts, so Leonard Nimoy didn't want to do a sequel. So the only reason why he even joined this movie was they were like, "We'll kill you off at the end. It'll be really dramatic." He was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll sign up
But
for
they
that."
didn't.
But they don't really. So if you're
Wanna
feeling
hear a
really
funny-
sad, it's
Wanna hear
okay.
a funny addition to that?
Yeah.
he only came back because I said he could direct the third one.
They just kept bribing him with more, but they were like, "Hey, you know how we said
Good
we
So he
killed
for
directed-
you?
him.
Good for him, yeah."
He directed the third and the fourth. Then Shatner got pissed and said he won't be back for the fifth unless he can direct.
Hmm.
Widely considered one of the worst ones.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Nemesis is probably the worst, but and so then it just after that they were like, no more. We're gonna get another director.
Just kidding. We're actually going to hire non-actor
I think
directors.
the original crew, so the original Star Trek crew, I think did 6 movies. And this movie, Wrath of Khan, was I think 16 or 17 years after the show first aired,
Wow.
like after the first episode. So it's when I first started watching it, I'm like, I know all these movies, I've seen them all before, but I was like, hey Katie, I text her, I'm like, I forgot how old they are in this movie. Like
Yeah.
it's like almost 20 years after the fact. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah. And then they did 6 total. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And they were older, and I appreciate that they keep coming back to it.
Yeah. It was also like sad because again, I've kind of been like living and breathing in this Star Trek world now for the last few years. I mean, obviously, like I have been in it before. I watched Next Gen, grew up watching Next Gen, but yeah, I was like watching that, and I had sort of the same feeling as you did, Nat, where I was sitting here and I was like, wow, like almost just Shatner left, like, and super old. Like it was just kind of watching, like, you know, everyone else. I mean,
Yeah.
even Kirstie Alley is in this, which I had forgotten about, and I was like, even she's passed away, and I like it. It was I don't know. It hit me for a moment because if they feel timeless, and yet
Yeah.
like they've been around for a long time. This is 1982. This is not like this is not a newer movie by any means. But I was hit a little bit by that as well. I did love you were talking about the crew, and there was a fact about this movie that the writer of this movie knew absolutely nothing about Star Trek, as I said previously. And so I guess they were in the middle of filming the kind of funeral scene, I guess, of Spock. And so that, you know, there's like this really like epic, we're all as fans, we're all just bawling our eyes out and crying, and it's like super emotional. And I guess
Bagpipes did me in.
yeah, there's even bagpipes in space, but yeah, everyone's crying, and I guess everyone on set, we're all like, all of the crew were crying, like everyone is just like weeping, and so the writer's like the only one standing there going like, oh, this is like really sad, right now. Like he's, I guess, the only one that just had no idea like of the impact of it. And he said that even like it wasn't until like years later, having become a fan and kind of immersing himself into that it hit him like how important a moment that is and was for the franchise. Like and he just had no concept of that. I just thought like how weird that would be to be sort of like the one kid like in this like close group of people who have done, you know, all of these projects together and you know, grew up with these characters. It would just be very weird. This very, very weird moment.
You know, just to not add to that in any way, to play off of that a little bit, like just to, man, you're killing me with saying he's the last one, because I was like, oh my god, is he? I'm like scanning through my head.
Oh
and now
yeah,
I'm
sorry.
like,
He's still alive, right? I haven't
oh,
missed
no,
any. Okay, good. I was like,
Yeah, he
oh my god.
but I wonder if not knowing about
the
it
whole
is
country
why.
of Canada would be at half mast.
Yeah.
Like if Shatner passed.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
not blame it.
Whole
We should
nation
be here.
cry.
Yeah. Sorry, but go
But
ahead.
I wonder if the writer not knowing is what made this one so special.
Mhm.
Yeah, probably.
You know, maybe that detachment a little bit.
Mhm.
Uh, I would love to hear more about that now that you said that. Like, I want to see if there's some interviews.
Yeah, I didn't have time to watch through like any I just did reading, but I would like to look up and see if there's any interviews on it. But I did think it was interesting that they brought someone in, and you hear this from time to time in like in kind of different franchises where they will bring someone in that is kind of removed from it, and it can go one way or the other. But yeah, it would be interesting to kind of be the one who's like not obsessed with it. It would be interesting, I think, for sure.
This is also the
Funny
introduction.
because this whole movie is the whole movie is built on this episode 22 from season 1, So it's funny that you have somebody who knows nothing about the show, but like the whole movie is the premise is that
Yeah.
one episode,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they
That's a
bring
good
all
point.
these actors back, and it's funny. So I went and rewatched the original episode because while I'm watching the movie, I was like, "Hey, wait, what does he mean? Like he's from the '90s?" And they don't explain it in the movie, but then they go back and it's explained in the show.
Yeah.
And like I didn't realize he was like they kind of say he was genetically modified in the movie, but in the episode there was a whole eugenics war on Earth in the 90s, which
Yeah.
then later in the series, the TV series, leads to genetic modification being outlawed across the universe. So it like the show and the movie both have this huge impact on the Star Wars universe, and so it's kind of funny that the author didn't know or the writer didn't know anything about the show. They had like
Yeah.
one of the biggest
It,
impacts, including the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah.
That's where this comes from, is from this movie.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
I love that if you watch the 2009, because that's why he is throws her the apple. It's because he was eating an apple the day he took the Kobayashi Maru, and I love that they played that again in the 2009 version with Chris Pine. It just played so perfectly.
Yeah,
100.
this
Cocky
one made me
Yeah.
want to rewatch we were talking before we jumped on, and I was saying that like a bunch of these movies and TV episodes are all kind of like jumbled together in my mind as kind of one big thing. And I was, posting on socials, we were leading up to this episode, and one of my friends and fans of the show was talking about how Benedict Cumberbatch plays Khan in the 2013, I think it is, Into the Darkness. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, was it? I was like, is that like? I feel like I was watching this movie, but I was like seeing like other clips in my mind. Like I kept expecting like different things to happen from like other
Yeah.
things that I had seen. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch again some of those other. I don't think I've ever seen the episode, so I definitely want to go in and watch the episode. And then I would like to rewatch some of those later, like newer movies, because I do think that they did a pretty good job with them. I know that the Benedict Cumberbatch one in particular was not as beloved as the other couple of remakes were, but I love him, so I'm up for rewatching it and giving it a
Yeah.
chance again.
It was good. He was a good con.
Yeah.
I think I think he would have been more widely accepted had they not tried to play it for a twist.
Yeah.
If they just played
Yeah.
it out like, oh, this is the new Khan, this is who, I think people would have accepted it. We liked them, Sherlock and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Well,
tried to cover up, like they tried to make it a big reveal that it was Khan, but everybody knew right away anyways, because even people who don't watch Star Trek know about Khan. Like
yeah.
you can't. That was miscalculation on whoever the showrunners were for that. But
Well, we should talk. We mentioned briefly the Kobayashi Maru. Mick, do you want to talk about what that is if people are watching and have no idea or not, are not Trek people? Because I feel like if you're not a Star Trek person, you've probably heard of this. It's like one of those things where you're like, wait,
you
what
still
is
know this.
that? You still know it.
So see, here's the problem with this. I was always a guy who liked like as a kid grew up and idolized like the heroes like this, like Indiana Jones, Captain America, Kirk, just like the guys who were going to go and they were going to be just and have integrity and character and fight the good fight. Now,
That being
with
said,
that being said, the Kobayashi Maru. So I lived my life for a long time as a young man. And no, I don't believe in no-win scenarios, as you might say,
yeah.
as he says in this movie.
As Kirk says.
Kobayashi Maru. Kobayashi Maru in the main timeline, I'm going to go with because Spock, I guess, invented it in the other timeline. Another like blip, in my opinion. But I know why they did it. But so the Kobayashi Maru is a test that everyone has to go through if they're going into like a command unit or something. Before they go into their fleet, that's the test they have to take is Kobayashi Maru. It's a no-win scenario. And there's no possibility when it's in turn supposed to humble each cadet as they go in and take this test. Of course, Kirk, being Kirk, cannot be humbled because he does not believe in no-win scenarios. So he cheats and rewires the test, as they put it, and he wins the Kobayashi Maru, saves the day. Well, he saves the day for the Kobayashi Maru crew, and yeah, he's become a legend for it, which I always thought was just one of the coolest stories in Star Trek history.
So the question
Yeah.
is
It
it cheating? Is it like is it cheating or
No,
not?
because the test is an integrity test. It's to test not if you can get through the scenario of whatever battle or war that they're in. It's to test your strength of character. And his strength of character that he showed through it, even though it does seem like cheating because it technically is, it's that he refused to let his crew die.
Yeah. Yeah. Nat, can you unplug
So
your mic and plug
that's
it
why he
back
was always
in?
admired. Oh,
It's
I
it's
just have to
making
get
some weird
closer.
noise. No, it's making a weird background noise. Try unplugging it and replugging it back in. Oh.
There's no mic.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll ride with
I
it
don't
then. Josh says, I think the Kobayashi Maru is the reason I didn't believe in the no-win scenario when it came to my health and physical disabilities when I was growing up, hence why I'm still here today. Yeah, it is. It is really interesting because, like you were saying, Mick, it's like one of those. It's like both inspiring, but then I did have a moment in watching it where I was just like, oh, I mean, and Kirk himself comes to that realization at the end where it's like, there's this moment where, his friend is gone and he has lost and he's had, he has to face, come face to face with death and with dealing with this. So there is a moment where you're just like, oh, you tried to win at this and you did for a while, but there's a point where it still, catches up to you. And it is sort of, it makes you think. That's for sure. It definitely makes you think.
Well, if you allow me to rant for a moment,
Rant.
which is something I do often on my channel. This theme of no-win scenario to, and Kirk learning to be humbled by it is my main reason I hate the third one, because they undo
Because
this
they
beauty.
undo it. Yep.
But I'm so glad they did it, and I'm so glad the third one exists. Yes, hypocritical, of course. Why? Because I'm so glad that Leonard Nimoy came back as Spock, because we got so many more great stories on TNG and so forth and in the movies, and it all hinged on Spock. And if he was gone after that, we would have never had that history. So I'm glad the third one exists, but it destroys the beauty of this movie and the fact that the entire time he doesn't believe in no-win scenarios, and then his best friend dies.
Yeah.
It's such a, that is Shakespearean in my opinion.
Yeah. Much of this
and
movie
It's
is
the ultimate
Shakespearean.
tragedy.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the
Mhm.
language, like Khan's language throughout this movie is very he's awesome. I like watching this all the way through, and Paul just pointed out one of the ridiculous facts that I shared at the very beginning in the in the countdown, but I guess a bunch of the Khan's henchmen or team, if you want to call them a team, were actually Chippendale dancers, which I just think is incredible. To make that even more
Well, they're all
fun,
shirtless, right?
they're all shirtless. Yeah, they all are shirtless, and I guess the actor playing Khan,
with a little vest.
yeah, with a little vest. I guess the actor playing Khan, his pecs, those are his actual, that's his actual chest. That's not done any differently. That's just actually what he looks like, which I think is absolutely incredible. The whole time I'm like, all of these people could be on He-Man. I know they're bad guys, but I feel like they could be friends or bad guys on He-Man. Maybe they could be like a foil the whole time they're just absolutely fantastic. I could not stop watching them. They are awesome.
They did a episode
One
of
of the
Enterprise. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, one of the questions that I had watching the movie, which is why I went to go back and watch the episode, is why would Kirk, who's usually always very compassionate and very forgiving, why would he go and maroon a whole group of
Oh, yeah.
people on a planet. You know, so when I went back to rewatch it, it's actually they were a group of escaped convicts from a war at Earth. They're superhuman and all a little sociopathic, or as Spock had put it, they're all a little Napoleon-esque. So, so all of these crazy people, these crazy eugenic modified human beings that have super strength, they're like super soldiers. They escaped Earth. They erased themselves from Earth's history. Kirk and Spock and McCoy figured it out, and then Khan and his people tried to murder and like Kirk and steal the USS Enterprise so they could take over planets and just be like supreme dictators, I guess, of the universe.
I
So it explains
Matt,
why he abandoned them, though in the long run, not a great choice.
Yeah.
Matt, I really hope that they did not erase their history from Earth, because that is going to undo so much of what's going on in new Star Trek right now.
Yeah,
It's like
Well,
Strange New
apparently
Worlds has
Spock did find some stuff.
well,
Spock
Strange New
did find
Worlds.
some documents and was able to figure out who they were. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Strange New Worlds takes place with Captain Pike right before Kirk took over, and Kirk's on it actually. It's the guy from Vampire Diaries plays him. Spock is actually his number two, or no, his number two, because number one is Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah.
So there is a security officer on there who is Khan Noonien Singh's and known to be Khan Noonien Singh's descendant.
Ooh.
So if they are screwing with me now, because I haven't
Wait,
seen that
who did he
episode.
have kids with?
Yeah, so many follow-up questions.
Probably everybody. He was like the
So-
Genghis Khan of that time.
But
he
he
is
gets
actually
married.
Singh is the reason.
He marries. So they mentioned in the movie his wife dies.
Yeah.
Yes, that was one
Yeah,
of his
and
wives. He
so
had
the
lots of
woman, his wife, is actually one of Kirk's former lieutenants, Lieutenant Marla McGivers, who's a historian. So her historical focus was the late 20th century, which is
Yeah.
when the eugenic war happened. And she actually helped him like create a mutiny on the ship and try and take it over. And then they all got marooned together on an island. But
they
yeah,
accepted
or
it.
planet.
If you remember at the end, they accepted it. They said
Yeah.
they're like, it's
Yeah.
going to be desolate down there, or whatever. You can go down there, or you're going to face charges. We're going to,
Or you're going to
and-
jail.
yeah, basically you're going to jail forever. And so they're like, we'll do it. We'll go down there. Like, and they even said to the woman, they're like, these conditions are going to be hard for them, and you're just a human. You sure you want to? And she was like, yes, I love them. I want to do it. And then she dies. And then
Like,
what?
I'm
He's
obsessed.
just been sitting there for 17 years ready to like fight, like in wrath.
That's
It's
true.
like, you did this.
Fair.
You
I know. I'm
moron.
like watching the movie. I'm like, why is he so pissed? It was his
There
choice.
should be no wrath.
You're so hilarious about that, Nat, because this is the difference between Nat and I watching anything. Like I've seen a lot of Star Trek, but I have not seen most of the original TV show. So I'm watching the movie, and at no point I was just like, "Well, he's angry." Like no point was did I need to like. I wanted to know it was based on like a real. Like I looked up like where he originally came from, because I remembered that there was an episode, but at no point did I feel like I was missing out on, like, the movie in my mind stood fine for me by itself without me needing to know his backstory. I was just like, he's angry. They've had some kind of
No, it's
issue.
more that-
Kirk was an ass, and now they're fighting.
Yeah. I just
Kirk wasn't
figured
even
it was
mad.
out of character for Kirk.
Yeah.
Kirk was way too nice. He really should have put him in jail or offed them, because like clearly it would be a problem later. But
They were going to murder everybody.
like Kirk was, yeah, like it was overly, like, so to me watching the movie, I was like, it makes no sense that Kirk was just going to abandon these people, because he's always trying to save people and help them see a better way and give them better options. So it just seemed out of character that he's like, I marooned like 75 people on a desolate planet. I was like, wait, what? That's not Kirk.
Normally, no. I did understand it there only because once they learned the background, which still makes no sense, but once because actually, I think Kirk has like a love story with. Oh, God damn it! This I do love this franchise. They've
The
had my stuff.
Doctor.
There's-
Oh yeah, Kirk has a son in this movie, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Randomly.
What-
Yeah.
Which I'm like, I'm
Which
sure Kirk
set
has
up a whole
millions
love
of
story.
children out there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
She wasn't even. I don't think like because Christine Chapel was the nurse in the original. Carol Marcus wasn't on the original series. I'm almost 90%
No.
sure she was. I'd have to go and double check, but I'm pretty sure she wasn't. She was just a character that was introduced to have a son, and now she's become like, well, that's Kirk's one true love. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, we've never seen her before. Okay, and clearly she hasn't seen him in a long time, considering the guy was like 40 and he's a bodybuilder or something.
I know. I did definitely have moments throughout watching this where I was like, they don't really look that far off from each other in age, but that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Oh, hey, Dad.
Yeah. I did I felt like that part of the storyline was not overly relevant to anything. Like, I guess maybe it's relevant to like the larger Trek world, but I don't know. It was funny. And they take that spoilers. They take a similar storyline for Jean-Luc Picard in Next Gen as well and beyond, but I did find that part of the storyline a little bit ridiculous as far as things go.
I kind of thought they pulled it off well with Picard.
They did pull it off way better with Picard than they did did with Kirk here.
Oh, okay. And this,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we haven't talked yet at all about Genesis, and I did find it absolutely incredible watching this because and I know this is 1982, and we've been on this kind of talk in the last few episodes about making these movies look realistic when there's over the top crazy things in them. And when we watched V, there was a lot of weird things where you're like, well, it's an old show, that's fine. But there's this scene where they walk in and they see the results of Genesis, and it's this, beautiful, paradise kind of situation. It was all, spun up overnight in a day. And it's you're this is okay. This is 1982 graphics. And then I went on to read that it was this was incredible. This was one of the first CGI based films. This actually was done by the studio that would eventually become Pixar. This was this scene was a giant deal. And I, in my Katie watching, was just yeah, it's all right. That's what Genesis looks like. And these people bled and sweated and cried for this moment. So yeah, I don't know. Genesis, was it a cool storyline? Did you like the whole vibe of it? What were your feels on Genesis?
Because it was just sort of a background MacGuffin,
Yeah,
I was fine with it. My problem you set the whole thing up and you could tell a good story with it. You could go on with Genesis, and you could have probably used Genesis, which they did, to bring him back to life. But I feel like the third one, knowing the story of the third one,
yeah,
sort of dismantles so much of this movie and what was special about it. Even Genesis, in a weird way, it's oh, that shit didn't work. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. I know this is a Canadian show.
It's okay. You can curse on the Canadian show.
You said sorry, so that neutralizes it.
We're good. It neutralizes it. Yeah.
But it drives me nuts every time I think about the third one, because I will watch it. I will hate watch it, but because they even blow up the Enterprise in that. They take everything away in that one.
They do.
They take it all away in that one, and it drives me crazy.
It was funny, in looking through. I was looking at the reviews of the movies, because there's this joke in the world of Star Trek that it's only the even number of movies that are any good, and it was really funny. I should have grabbed the image to show everyone, but it was the ratings were it was green, high level ratings, and then it was orange, and then green, and then orange. So it really it does seem to be pretty accurate. And it was funny though. There were people who commented when we asked like what were people's favorite Star Trek movies, and there were a decent amount of people that liked one of the odd movies. So I guess it's not across the board, but it was pretty funny, the difference in ratings of even versus odd.
Yeah, it really.
So, what was your favorite Star Trek movie? I know that's a really broad question.
It's a really hard question.
I think 3 upset makes the worst.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, actually, that's not true. Nemesis was really bad. We did talk to Jonathan
still not
Frakes about
over
those.
Data dying.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm with you.
God.
Nemesis was not my favorite. I've wiped most of that out of my mind. It does not exist in the world of Katie.
I'm not going to boast. So I'm just going to say we talked to Jonathan Frakes, and he didn't even want to talk about that movie. And not even because of like anything else. He was just kind of like, I was like, I get it. Like, sort of, like that sort of thing. But like, it's so like Nemesis is probably the worst one. 5 probably following. 3 just undoes so much, but it brings Spock back, so I have to have a special place in my heart for it.
Yeah.
But
so favorite.
I gotta say, Contact is going to probably be my favorite. Always.
Oh,
It's so good.
Same.
Oh, there you go.
The Borg, the Queen.
Oh, it really, and just like so much has drawn, even not just from the Borg and Best of Both Worlds and stuff like that. Like that movie has driven so much content going forward with the Borg and like Picard season 3 and how things kind of all came. Oh my God, that's the best. I tell anybody who's watching that is the best season of Star Trek, hands down, ever. Is Picard season 3.
I would
Agreed.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I got all the way through Next Gen, and then we moved on to other Star Trek shows, and then we finally got around to watching Picard. And by the time we got there, I was like, I just want to watch Next Gen again. It was just like, and Val agrees. Picard is everyone's dude. Well, I want to jump over. We've been trying to showcase reviews, so this is a bit of a long one, but come with me on this journey. So this is a 2-star review from someone named Glenn, not anyone we know. And Glenn says, a good overall entertaining watch, but overrated in my opinion. With the exception of Ricardo's performance, the acting by the main cast was abysmal. The script and dialogue was good in places, particularly Khan, but became unnecessarily sentimental and cheesy when involving the cast. It was a blatant, unsubtle attempt to play to fans, but way over the top. The Starfleet costumes were awful, just awful. The ill-fitting tunics and spindly trousers flared at the bottom looked really naff. I think the rumors of Shatner's corset were born here. The special effects were iffy too. The Enterprise looked relatively small to me. This was Gene Roddenberry's least favorite Star Trek movie. And then he goes on to say that the plot was full of holes. It was too, all of this kind of stuff. So do you... So I know I literally put these in because I disagree. I think that this was actually a pretty well done movie. But I will say that the uniform bit, I kind of agree with him on. The uniforms I found really distracting. You like the uniforms? I kept staring at the puffed out pants, like the bell bottom pants at the bottom. I was like, what's happening with these uniforms?
I didn't notice the pants, but I like the dark red with the white.
You like the dark red with the white? I don't like that it flips open. Dane liked that it flips open.
I didn't notice the pants, though.
This isn't my favorite uniform. No.
Okay.
But like, if anything, their newest uniforms are probably some of my favorites. I think they're the most sharp right now. There's quite along the way, but like I did love these for the time and and kind of the break we had from the colorful, and then it went to these for a little while.
That's true.
Kind of graduated because I feel like this was a good bridge between the original into more the next gen look and where we went from it. And you could see like it would evolve in that way, and they'd go back to the colors, but it'd be more of a uniform style than a shirt and pants,
That's true. I don't know. There was something about those that I did find moderately distracting. There was something about them that got me. What did you think about the script and the dialogue? Do you agree that it became too sentimental and cheesy?
No, not at all. That's Star Trek. Star Trek has a lot of sentiment and always has, and it's always been a very an awakened show, if you will. I don't know, I could say woke, but like it is a very awake show. That's what it is. It's always been very mindful of like what it's trying to tell and convey in its themes, and this and it's always at its heart been very sentimental,
Yeah,
for sure. I
I'd
mean,
agree
we
with
get
that.
that in every episode. So this to me, knowing there had to be a sacrifice, and it was so many years after, and there it was such a diehard fandom.
Yeah.
Anybody saying that this is too sentimental is probably somebody who's like Iron Man's death is the best in movie history. It is one of them, but I mean, go back and watch more movies because like there's many that are like this that tug on it and have this rich backstory that help. But yeah, no, the script is fine. Is it perfect? No. But is there some holes? Yes, clearly Chekhov. That's probably what he's talking about. And we all know it and we all laugh about it. We've all forgiven it. So let it go.
I
Secondly,
never would have noticed, but again, I'm the least observant person out there. I was just like, oh, all right, well, he was in the episode that where Khan got angry at Kirk, so it's fine.
if Chekhov's character on the TV show when wasn't just like a young dick, like you wouldn't really notice, but you do notice that he's not in that first season. So
It's like a
it's
Chekhov-sized hole in that episode.
he's like always doing something dickish, like somewhere, and like being a dick about something. So like, like him not being in that episode really it like really shines. But if you get to, and I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but like with this movie and like what this guy's saying, like even the space battle, it's not supposed to be Star Wars. They're mimicking submarine battles, like,
Yeah.
and I thought that was beautiful for what they were trying to tell in the theme of the story.
Yeah.
So that was just my point. So Glenn, I'm sorry.
Well,
you didn't
that-
like it,
that-
but-
Glenn, you are wrong. In our opinion.
Glenn.
You suck, Glenn. I don't have a boo sound
The
effect,
space
but boo.
battle. The space battle scene is still like noted as one of the most spectacular space battles, like spaceship battle, I guess. It was groundbreaking when they did it. It's still very beautiful and well shot. When you see the nebula, like I was like, it looks good for today. Never mind for 1982.
Yeah. It is really like a counter to what I just said previously about the heavy CGI moment. It is actually pretty impressive, like throughout a lot of this, that like you look back and it does feel pretty timeless. Like you're not looking at it saying like, oh, it's super, super dated. It doesn't, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's such an iconic series that it just always kind of feels like it has always existed and it will always exist. It just sort of is. But yeah, I mean, I think it is pretty impressively done all the way through. I am blown away, our live studio audience, like the amount of people who are related or friends with or been on. Like Doc is saying that he's friends with Gene Roddenberry's son. I mean, come on, you guys, you should all be on the show. I don't feel qualified anymore to be a part of this show. I'm gonna step aside for this episode.
Like, Josh has been on
cool.
set. Was it Cherie that was also on set? I'm like, you guys, I'm so happy to know you guys. Like, I know people who've been there. That's so cool.
The sets for this one apparently were the same. Did you see that fact that the Enterprise and now of course it's slipping my mind, the other ship that they take over, the Revenant? What's the name of the other ship?
oh
man, it just totally slipped out of my head. It's
my
something.
god.
Anyway,
This is
those
gonna
two ships. Mick will think about
gonna
it. Fact check, Paul. These two
Not
these-
the botany.
These two ships, apparently it was the same set. They had such a small budget for this movie that what?
Was it the Faraday?
No, it was something. Revenant, right?
Reliant.
Reliance.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there you go.
Reliant.
We did it.
All
So
right, I
the
need to-
Reliance and
I-
the Enterprise, we're doing better
Star
now.
Trek fans are gonna kill me.
Those
The Reliant.
was
I'm
the
just not
exact
trying to
same
remember it
set. They just like changed a few things to make them look like different ships because they did not have enough budget to be able to have two unique sets, which I think is incredible. That for whatever reason, which again, I probably speaks to Gene Roddenberry being less involved in this one because I think that he as awesome as he is, caused a lot of additional costs on the first one. But so the first movie was a huge budget and did well-ish. And then this one was on a tiny budget and technically, like, from a percentage standpoint, did way better than the first. Like, it because it was such a small budget,
Yeah.
it like completely outperformed the first one. I think it was like a 400% better than the first one from the amount of revenue that it made. So it is kind of interesting that like you can do quite a lot at a small budget. Like, they were able to pull off a lot by just getting kind of gritty with it, which is neat.
No, I'm glad you told me that, because I was always wondered in this movie. I'm like, it's Starfleet. Why are there two ships? Like, why can't they call somebody and just be like, "Hey, send a fleet. This dude's a maniac."
You're like,
You know,
I know they never call Starfleet for any kind of help. That's a good point. Yeah.
And he's an
oh, that's why I
admiral.
love the newer one.
Like, he's not Captain Kirk anymore. He's not out in the great beyond. He's like, he's the admiral of Starfleet. Like, he
Yeah.
literally could have just been like, "Okay, everybody round up, let's go." Like,
Yeah, seriously. Well,
Let me
Josh
tell you, there
said
are two scenes- Oh, sorry.
no, it's fine. Josh says that his problem with this movie and the motion picture is how dark the bridge is compared to the future movies, including Star Trek 3. Yeah. Yeah, that is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Mick. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was only gonna say that there's two. Star Trek did this really well twice. In DS9, I think it was end season 4 into season 5, when they're in the Dominion War,
Oh, yeah.
and they get pushed out of DS9 and they have to go, and the Defiant turns around, and it like they get up to the entire fleet of just Starfleet is there, and they just turn around, and they're going to charge back. That second, that was always first for the longest time, and like a really heroic moment for me. But that's second now to Picard season 1, when they're just when their little ship is just trying to hold off the Romulans,
Yeah.
and then Riker shows up
Mhm.
with an entire fleet, hundreds of ships, and they're just like, "Go ahead, let's try it. We have the best ship," pointed right at you. So like, I love that they do it in that way. It's like, it's heroic, but with like that compassion and that care, that you were talking about earlier. And like, the captains just have it. I love that.
Oh, I love it.
I kind of trailed off, but I got into my
No,
coziness of-
no, I think everyone should be in their Star Trek coziness. Well, I think it's I hesitate to ask this, but I'm gonna ask this anyway, because I feel like you've probably answered this a ton throughout this episode. But so we gave you the choice of virtually any movie from like probably we would have even got into the 70s all the way through to the early 2000s. So what made this one stick out as like, no, we need to talk about this? Is it because you're doing the podcast? Is it because this is like your all-time favorite movie? Is there somewhere in between?
It's on my top 10.
Okay. All right. Top 10.
And my top 10, with me save one, is probably all 80s and 90s.
Love it.
So I'd have to go back and rework it, see what's what, but like RoboCop, Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, like,
Yeah.
that's my jam. I love that stuff. So, and those would be just my top 10 rewatchables. But like, yeah, so like, I'm with you guys. The nostalgia of it, like this is one of them. This is one that's, again, it's like this comfort, this coziness to it. I can rewatch this one over and over again, just like First Contact. No problems.
Yeah.
And 6, Undiscovered Countries of Sleepers, very good.
Yeah.
So, check
Yeah,
it out.
that one is a good one. Yeah, it is funny. I put this one on, and Dane, my husband, was like, he was like, I'm gonna go out and work on a project in the garage. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no worries. Like, I'm gonna start the movie. So I put it on, and he's just like standing in the doorway. He's like, well, I'll watch the beginning. And then like, so the beginning plays, and he's like moved slowly through the room, and then just like sat down, and then was just there the whole time. I was like, yeah, this is one of those ones that you're like, you can't help but want to watch again. Like, there is something about it, and that you can't say that for every movie. Like, there's something about it that and part of it's probably nostalgia, and part of it is like a fandom. But I think it's just something about the individual movie as well. It just is a special film for sure.
Yeah. Can I just say, your chicken earrings? They're chickens,
new.
right?
They're chickens with boots.
I love them. The little boots are just jingling like they're scuffling along, and it's like, it's amazing. It's just so fun to watch.
Well, Nat pointed out
pretty
to me
hilarious.
earlier, I don't know if it was this week or last week, Nat sent me this video on TikTok where a woman who is 41 years old, which is my age, realized that she was the same age as Blanche from the Golden Girls. And I was like, oh, bummer.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm just leaning heavily into my weird and wonderful side. So I have my mushroom background. I have my I have my stuffed potato. I
love that thing, by the way, when I
I'm
see
just
it.
getting more and more ridiculous the older I get, because hey, you know, if I'm going to be as old as a Golden Girl, then I'm just going to lean in. I'm leaning in to the ridiculousness, crazy earrings, all of it.
I'm older than Norm was
Yeah.
in the first episode of Cheers.
Oh, okay. That does make me
And
feel
that
better.
That hurts my heart so much.
No, lean in. Lean in. We're all going to lean in. All right. Well, we've come to the point of the show where our live studio audience who are hanging out with us here on YouTube can drop in their ratings and thoughts. You can do it however you want. We rate in potatoes, but hey, go for it. You can rate it. You can rate in VHSs. You can rate in little rocket ships. Whatever you think. You can rate on whether or not you love this movie or how much we've convinced you to watch it if you've never seen it. That's our new rating system. Thanks to Josh and Val, who often has not seen these movies. We know pretty much what the three of us think on this, but you know, we like to see what everyone else thinks. And if you're wondering what a live studio audience is because you're listening to this on a podcast player, we actually record these episodes live on YouTube most Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, and anyone can jump on and help us fact check and remember the names of spaceships and drop in their comments and everything in between. So it's always fun to have people hang out with us, and we love seeing everyone's feelings. Oh, Val is on today. Val is giving it, this is bacon? I'm trying to
Sizzling bacon.
Sizzling bacon. What, 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sizzling bacons. Paul's staying with potatoes, regular
Ooh.
potatoes, 4 potatoes. So Val's got some feelings for this one. Oh no, Hank is using an emoji that does not register by YouTube, but
Red
there's
rocket,
a lot
red
of
rocket,
rockets.
Is it the? I think I
Fried
saw the Vulcan
enterprises.
salute is.
Oh,
is
is the
an
Vulcan
emoji.
salute the emoji? Yeah, that would be a good one to rate in.
It's an emoji.
All right.
And
I'm off camera.
Leonard Nimoy actually is the one that came up with that.
Oh,
And
I
there's
love that.
there's a great video on YouTube. There's an interview of him explaining how it's from synagogue. So he's Jewish, and it's something that when everybody has their backs turned to the front of the synagogue, I think it's something that the rabbi does.
Oh.
And he brought it into the show as
love
the
that.
Vulcan salute, and it's really cool. You have to watch the video. I did not watch it today. I watched it a million years ago, so I'm not 100% sure that's fully accurate.
Fact check.
That's what I
Nat could be
remember.
lying.
I'm sorry,
No,
Trekkies. I'm sorry if I
I
messed
go with
up.
the lie. Listen, I'm American. I go with the lie. I'm just gonna roll.
Doc found it. Doc found it.
I'm
Found
pretty
it.
sure.
Found the hands. Oh, there we go. I lost it. Great
Yeah,
fun
Doc's
fact.
got it. He's got his little Vulcan.
There's like cool fun fact.
All right,
I'm
well,
gonna tell my son.
We are at 4. We are at 4 Christian Taters, and Nat said that she had a logical reason as to why we did 4 instead of 5, because Mick and I were both obviously on 5. This is Nat's fault that we're at 4. Go for it, Nat. Go for it, Nat. Explain your 4. Defend your 4.
Okay, just defend my Spock. Okay,
Defend your
so
Spock. Yep.
when I was watching the movie, I felt that this movie was very much made for Trekkies. And a lot of the movies prior to Chris Pine were made for Trekkies. And when the J.J. Abrams Chris Pine cast came out, Trekkies hated those movies because they weren't made for Trekkies. And this movie, I took one potato because I had to go back and watch the original episode to really fill the plot holes, and the bit of dialogue that seemed to be missing here or there that filled stuff in. So I'm like, it really is just for a very specific audience, though it does translate well. And everybody enjoys it and everybody knows the iconic scene from it. I'm like, it could have been a little more stand on its own than it was.
Okay.
But obviously the Trekkies don't need it to stand on its own because they know. So
Yeah.
the plot holes are fine for the Trekkies because they've seen everything and have it all memorized and speak Vulcan, So, so that's
Love it.
why I think my logic is
Okay.
that it's
I,
only 4.
I appreciate your logic. I did read that they wanted this one to originally be a TV movie. So if you're taking your logic and then applying that, I could see that
Yeah.
if they thought it was going to just be like a slightly longer episode that they were airing on TV as part of
Yeah.
it, then yeah, I guess the assumption was that only Star Trek fans would watch it, or it was solely for the Star Trek fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I see that.
It
I see
almost
that.
seemed like it was a spin-off, a potential spin-off too, with the introduction of like the young cadets coming out of the academy and all of that.
Mhm.
I was like, oh man, if this was made today, like Kirstie Alley would have been starring as the new like SS whatever captain.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're killing me. USS
It had
Enterprise.
potential.
Their vows changing
I,
to a little bit
I'm
of bacon.
I feel bad because I'm like, I shouldn't, don't correct what he's stupid, but I'm like, the Trekkies always do. And
Yeah,
like, I
you've
think
got
I've
to.
been like,
That's
Oh yeah, no,
roped in.
that's their
yeah,
job.
that's the
Yeah,
job.
no, it said USS whatever because of like she wouldn't have the Enterprise. She could have had a different ship. That was my
Fair.
you
You know what?
logic.
Very logical reasoning, Nat. According to Josh, very logical reasoning.
I was
Oh,
wrong.
oh my gosh.
My dad used to say to me when I was a kid, "Oh man, your logic is Spock, kid." I used to get that a lot when I
I love
was
it. I
little.
love it.
Oh, your
That's why I
logic
can
is
be
fun.
brash. You keep us in line with the logic.
Oh, well, thank you so much for hanging out, Mick. And one more time, so now include your Star Trek show, but let us know where everyone can find you, what nights, where to find all of the shows and all of the awesome content.
Well, the City and Snobs channel is our main channel. You can either follow us on Patreon, free or paid, doesn't matter. But that's where we do our newsletter. We do all of our links and stuff like that. So it's like our main hub.
Mhm.
And also you get into our Discord. So I try to explain that to people because once they hear Patreon, they're like, no, I'm not paying for it. It's like, no. Let's follow
No,
us.
I
Or
that.
just- we don't care.
Yeah.
It's just we wanted a hub
Yeah.
where we could share everything. And also on YouTube, that's where all of our shows kind of go out and stuff like that. But our lives will be over on the other side. Warp Factor Fiction is our Star Trek rewatch podcast. We're doing it in chronological order. We started with Enterprise. We just did our episode for the animated series, the original series, animated series, and we are starting the movies. So we cover a new one season a month. And we go on, and then we're going to do one movie a month, and hopefully you guys will come and enjoy it. Let's talk some Star Trek.
Yeah.
And
Oh
have
my
some-
gosh, I'm excited. I'm gonna.
Yeah,
Now I'm
let's
like,
have you guys have a good time.
I'm like excited to dive back in and like rewatch. I'm like still in the middle of Discovery, but I'm just gonna dive back in and also start rewatching because I don't know. I missed the other episodes as well, so I can't wait to listen. That sounds great.
We'll be on Next Gen soon, so
it'll all come around.
And we'll be there.
Yeah, I love it. We'll catch up. Well, you can find this show. We have a fancy website that you can always visit, the VHS Club Pod. That's where you can leave us a voicemail, sign up for newsletters, catch episodes, do all of that great stuff. Leave us a review. We'd always appreciate that. And then we record live most Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Next week, we're pulling Josh out of our live studio audience again, and we're talking about the history of VHS, which is an episode we postponed until next week. So definitely check that out. Josh has got he's ready. He's got all of the facts. I know he's gonna bring his A game and all of his photos. I think he's almost got as many VHS as Nat. Definitely more than me. So we're gonna talk about all of that.
Can I throw out one thing about VHS?
Oh yeah,
I don't know if everybody
please
knows.
go for it. Sneak peek.
And Josh is doing his research, so I'm sure this will be part of it. But and this isn't just VHS. This covers all gamuts of media.
All right.
Do you know why VHS won out versus Beta and Laserdisc?
Oh, I want to say
Marketing?
porn. Is that right?
Porn has directed how we watch media
Yep.
completely. So that's why HD DVD went away and Blu-ray stayed. It's whatever they choose. That's where it goes. So yeah, that's why VHS
That's
won out
pretty
for so many
funny.
years.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Yeah,
I'm glad you said it. I didn't want to.
I've got you. I've always got you there. That's awesome. Well, I hope you will come back, and thank you so much for being so generous and having us on your show. It was so much fun. The link for the episode we were on this week is in the, and Matt was telling me that I said it wrong, so I've made up my own. So it's the shaboobaboo below, or the description or the show notes if you're a reasonable person. But I'm the same age as Blanche, so I do what I want. So there's that's where you can find the information.
I'm older than Blanche.
Yeah, I'm
definitely the
realize
Dorothy.
and thank you to all of our Tater Tots for hanging out with us in the chat. It's always fun to hang out and see all of you. Well, hopefully we'll see you next week for History VHS. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Kidnapped